I always post articles in my Substack, but I decided to also make a YouTube so that every time I post a Substack article in my Substack, I could also share it to you through voice so that, if you're not much fan of reading, you could just listen to it. So what I'm talking about today is, can romantic love ever be a good thing? You heard it, not platonic, not family, romantic love, having a partner, an individual that isn't related to you in any means, but you love them. So let's go. So in the first statement, it says, why is love so normalized at a young age? Is it the feeling itself or the desire to experience it? Is it a trend or true commitment? Before answering these questions, we must first understand what love really is and why it holds such importance. I'm talking about in this intro to this introduction to this article. I'm talking about all the teens now. Why is having a relationship considered a specific need or a priority? And instead of academics, most teens prefer having an individual or a partner by their side, even if they are considered too young to even be there. So this, and then the next says, is it the feeling itself or the desire to experience it? And of course, the only actual answer here is the desire to experience it. To the first to the first teens that actually made this normalized would probably do it only for the feeling itself. But now it has gotten so generalized that most teens do it because of the desire to experience that type of feeling and that type of commitment and that type of fame you get, like OMG she's together with, OMG he's together with. So it's mostly a So it's mostly a ongoing sequence that already happens in our current generation. So after that, I put, before answering these questions, we must first understand what love really is and why it holds such importance. So to introduce this type of topic, we also have to give the very general term of love so that we actually know what it means. Because as we all know, liking and loving are very two different words. So let's go ahead. For the first part, I said this one. Through research and observation, love is often described as one of the most powerful forces within us. It can feel like a drug, something that keeps us going every day. Psychologists have been fascinated by love, not only because of desire, but because it is considered a fundamental human need. Love is more than just a feeling, it is a connection, a form of healing, even a kind of medicine. But this leads to a deeper question. Can romantic love ever be a bad thing? So, romantic love can be a bad thing. I'm just gonna give it the actual answer so that if you're just gonna watch until there, then bye bye. But anyways, I'm not just talking about teen love. We can talk about young adult love, old adult love, elderly love, any love, okay? Except for the family, friends love. I'm talking about partner love, romantic love. Okay, so before those factors, I'm going to be saying some opinions for mine that I put in these two parts. I have watched both sunsets and sunrises, and the only difference between them is time and color. In many ways, they are the same. People, however, are not. No two individuals are ever truly alike. Your interests may not match theirs, and your feelings may not be returned in the same way that you know, give them. To answer the main question, we must examine the ways love can become harmful, because there are times where people just tend to fight because they dislike each other's preferences in life and love. So, through my research and personal observations, I identified 6 factors that explain how romantic love can have negative effects. Of course, there are more negative effects, but this was from my observation and research. This took me like at least a year to put in my head. So, let's go ahead and go to the first factor. This is going to be just pure me talking, mostly non-edited, but yeah. The first factor is imbalance. Love can overwhelm a person to the point where their life becomes unstable. The phrase head over heels reflects this perfectly. You may find yourself willing to give everything, your time, your energy, even your identity, to someone who may not stay. Love may feel like medicine, but when it is taken too much, it can become harmful. Before there was us, there was you. Love should not be replaced your sense of self. This mostly talks about where the love for yourself can be erased due to the fact that you have given it all to one individual partner. And this is very imbalanced and very unhealthy for a human being, because not only do they give themselves away, they give themselves away to somebody that could potentially betray their feelings that have been reciprocated by the loved one. Now, the second factor is blindness. Love can cause people to ignore reality and make poor decisions. No one is perfect. Yet people in love often expect perfection or ignore obvious flaws. This can affect not only the relationship but also life choices, opportunities, and priorities. Many young people depend on romantic love to define their future without realizing that the most important love is love for themselves. So, most people expect the expectations that come in through love. So they mostly take away the facts where it gets unhealthy, it gets imbalanced, like the first factor, and they just give it all away because of how deeply crazy they are and craving for a specific love that actually doesn't even benefit them, because of the outstanding fact that the person that they're loving is not giving them what they are giving. So it's mostly a problem with reciprocation once again. And because of the lack of reciprocation and lack of love given, they tend to ignore all those bad factors because they are already deeply in love. I don't know why, but so many young people are so obsessed with toxic love, addicted love, obsession love, when it is clearly unhealthy and definitely very, very such a long life term that can leave an audible mark. It's like, I don't know. The third factor is dependency. Some people become so attached that they rely on their partner for every decision. This can lead to manipulation or loss of independence. Love should not mean losing control over your own life. If you cannot make decisions for yourself, then the relationship is no longer healthy. This doesn't apply to relationships for the elderly and the adults. Okay, no, like the old adults. But for the young adults and the teens, the youth, this applies perfectly. Because you are young, you are too young to give your decisions and your dependency to another person, because by that time it's either you're still under your parents' name or you are under your own life for at least years. This doesn't change the fact that if you're elderly, you should be dependent, because there are really times and there are some decisions that you really have to talk with your partner. But if it is about treating yourself and giving yourself self-love and self-worth, this is where the third factor, dependency, comes in. Because all of us depend on somebody that we love because we are too scared to lose them. So that is why this is one of the actual like worst possible things that can happen in romantic love. Now we have the fourth factor. Sorry if these doesn't make sense, by the way. I'm just trying to like say it from the top of my head. As you guys know, I'm just a teen and I'm trying to express my opinion, so please don't mind. The fourth factor is insecurity. Many teenage relationships are filled with self doubt and fear of not being enough. Instead of feeling safe, a person may feel anxious and uncomfortable. This not only damages the relationship but also deeply affects mental health. When a relationship ends, those insecurities often remain or even grow stronger. So, this fourth factor really means that they try to hide their flaws, their insecurities, and their mistakes just so that the one they're loving, the person they're loving, will not leave them. That is the most like factor that doesn't scream love at all. Like, you definitely um not only don't love yourself, you also don't only love your partner too much where you give yourself away. You're also giving your body the signal that it is not enough and will never be enough. So you try your best to be perfect. Although nobody is perfect, people assume they are just so that they could keep a relationship they know that would end if they were not perfect. So this is really mostly the things I have observed from my peers and in through my journey here in the Philippines. Like, people just go ahead and hide their insecurities and flaws just so that the person that they're loving can love them back, even for just a bit, because if they find out you're not perfect, they're gonna leave you. Now we have the fifth factor. The fifth factor is a sacrifice without certainty. Being in a relationship requires time, energy, and emotional investment. However, there is no guarantee that it will last. You may give so much of yourself only to realize that it was built on false promises. Love can give happiness, but it can also take away time that cannot be returned. Time is gold, and that is the reason why we have to prioritize, because we never know when we're going to die. We never know when our life is going to end. So this fifth factor is where we sacrifice something that is so precious and something that will never ever come back for a relationship that may end in just 3 months. You get what I'm saying? This also applies to you. That's why, like, in the very first, like, paragraph, the introduction, this I said something about, like, you teens, something like that, because almost all these factors apply to that, to most teens, from my observation again. So I don't think people realize this, but promises are 100% meant to be broken, and we have to accept the fact that we should not assume much. Yes, it is hard when you love the person, you like the person, you want to be with them for the rest of your life, but sometimes we just have to accept it. We are definitely overwhelmed because we love the person, but there are certain times that we also have to accept if they're going to be gone, and there are also times we have to realize that time isn't something you can buy nor get again, unless you're some sort of time traveler, which is nearly impossible because we have like a black hole or something like that from the Big Bang Theory. It is almost technically 999.999% impossible. So even if you were in the 0.00000000001, you would still end up being considered impossible. You know what I'm saying? Because time is precious, and that love can be something that ends immediately. So I'm not gonna say that love that you have with your current boyfriend when you're 11 can last. Okay, I'm talking about this. If all of these applies to your current relationship, then it is not a relationship. It is literally just a situation, not a situationship either. It's just like a situation or a time being where you get used by the person that you love, and then they're just gonna leave you, and you're gonna cry, and you're gonna be depressed, and you kill yourself. That is mostly the outcome of everything. Now we're gonna go to the last factor. This is where I actually took so long to study. I studied history, but mostly of this was really built on observation, the sixth factor. So let's read it. The sixth factor is fear of rejection. Humans have always feared being rejected, even from ancient times, when survival depended on belonging to a group. In relationships, this fear can become overwhelming. A small mistake may feel like the end of everything. This fear can lead people to hide their true selves, preventing real connection and self acceptance. As you guys heard, the sixth factor is fear of rejection. Humans have always feared being rejected, even from ancient times when survival depended on belonging to a group. That is what really kept me up all night when I was writing this article, like in my bed, in my desk, because we all have fear of rejection. Like, it's also, again, technically not impossible, but it is nearly impossible that we have never encountered such fear of getting rejected. It's because our ancestors and our much elder relatives that have already died, survival meant having a group where you can trust each other and be with each other at all times. So if one is harmed, everyone will help. Even if you're the outcast, you will be helped because you're part of the group. That means if you're too much of an outcast, you get rejected by a group. That was the main purpose of rejection then. Love has some part in the ancient times, but it was mostly feared because of survival. So, a small mistake may feel like the end of everything. That means if your crush likes tall girls and smart girls, you're smart, but you're like what? 4'5". There you're gonna say, "Oh no, this is such a mistake. I didn't grow taller." Like, girl, that's genetics. You can't change something. That's your body. But there really are times where we seem to try. We're gonna wear like what, 10 Crocs that have heels just so that we could get into like what, from 4'5" to 10'5". I don't know. That's like maybe impossible 10'5", but yeah. So this fear can lead people to hide their true selves, preventing real connection and self acceptance. As you guys can see, all these 6 factors mostly talk about you not accepting yourself and giving your love to somebody else. So, for the outro, these factors do not mean that love is entirely bad. Instead, they show that love is powerful, and anything powerful can be dangerous if not handled wisely. Love is not just a feeling, it is an experience, a memory, and a lesson. In the end, romantic love can be a beautiful thing, but only when it does not destroy the person experiencing it. So that's like literally it. So, like I said, in the end, romantic love can be a beautiful thing, but only when it does not destroy the person experiencing it. That means love is a fundamental thing, just like the psychologist says, and they're like it's like a very special, excellent feeling. But like I said, romantic love is a beautiful thing, but only when it does not destroy the person or the persons experiencing it. So, the takeaway of this article of mine, this lesson, that it's not part of here, but it's part of this. So, this means that even if you feel love so much, it doesn't mean that the person that you love loves you back the way you love them as well. And you can purposely, right now, be giving your love to somebody wrong, to somebody that is not righteous of your love. So, that's pretty much it I have for this outro. And hopefully, you guys, I don't know, change your perspectives. So, that's all. Bye bye.